Imminent danger means a threat of death or serious physical harm that likely occurs immediately or very soon. Okay, so all this is I just want to make sure I was stating exactly what the state said. Okay. An example could be, I hate Billy. I'm going to kill that kid after school. And the situation is, what if a student makes a threat with the absence of imminent danger? So it's really, there's not really a cause or an effect here. It's just a
A
statement.
statement.
Okay. I just want to be very crystal clear.
I mean, personally, me, I work in a building I work in a high school, special ed high school, District 75, and we have, these types of incidences a lot. Um, so for us, the minute we hear a student say something, we immediately go and speak to the assistant principal, the deans, so they could pull the student and find out what's going on because we're very diligent on when we hear things like this. Because a lot of these kids have been um, victims of violence themselves. These kids have a lot of sad stories, and I won't go into all that, but we're so trained in our building to hear these things that we immediately know what we have to do. We try to intervene, try to talk and see what's going on, mediate. First, the counselors are involved. And sometimes PD might have to be called because the kid is not going to let up. So it just depends on if it's just something they said in anger or they really mean it. So you really can't tell
Right.
sometimes. So it could be a statement, but you don't know how severe what they're thinking at that minute. So we try to intervene right away.
Right.
That's
So
in my
there's
place.
intervention. So excellent job,
Mhm.
Lisa, as always appreciated. I'm giving you some applause. Christiana wrote, you need to address the student directly, kind of which is overlapping what Lisa was sharing, and directly understand why he said it. Also inform the principal and guardian of the comment. Okay, there's a particular time and a person named here, so it seems that worth reporting, flagging, intervening. That's what um, Musa shared. I hope I'm saying your name right. And uh, uh, Minky, who's the nickname, which is not the same name in Canvas, wrote, speak to the child to see if there's a threat of a serious and then report the child immediately. And Kiara Jackson writes, leadership and or counseling should be made aware. Excellent. I immediately remove the student and alert the principal and line the steps that there are. And Jada writes, I would have the administrator speak with the student to settle the situation since that does sound like a threat. Okay. And Emma writes, I would suggest doing a restorative investigation with the teachers and other students, counselors, parents to assess the level of threat and how to move forward. Immediate conversations with direct report social worker and parents to need to navigate the statement. And Jenna writes, contact a higher administration. Okay. Put the child aside and ask if they understand what the word is. Kristen wrote that. Hope I'm not repeating anything. Report the administration. Teacher should be to report. I want to make it very clear, and I want to acknowledge that Zariana wrote, teachers should still report to the principal or school safety team. The school will then investigate and decide whether this needs discipline and prevention risk for future risk. So definitely having something writing an anecdotal is really important. Putting it off to an administrator is fine and dandy, but says since you are on mandated reporters, it's really, really important that you're aware that you have to take some action. So by speaking to someone, put in writing saying, as per our conversation at 12:03, we spoke to this incident that happened. Although it's not imminent danger, it was something of a warning. Please follow up and make sure that we're in compliance with blank. This needs to be addressed and documented. Thank you, Dawn. Teachers should immediately report the incident to the administrative task, says Almeria. I'm sorry, Mira. Said that right. So excellent. So we're going to go into our what the slide says appropriate response. Do not dismiss this as threat or idle talk. Immediately talk with the students. If they refuse to talk or is argumentative, defensive, or continue to express violence through their plans, arrange for the immediate evaluation with a qualified mental health professional school psychologist. Now, I am not a school psychologist. I'm an art teacher that turned to special ed, and then I went into higher ed. So, and I still go into the classroom as much as I can for research and for lack of better words, fun. Do not leave them alone. But I'm just saying, like, I am not a person that is a health professional. And although I would like to say that I have a certification in dime psychology, dime store, I don't. So that is where I go to. I lean toward my mental health professional, the person that's a school psychologist, as you should, unless you're going into that field. Contact the local person according to the school safety plan, the council of parents, principals, or police if needed. So really important. I want all of us for homework, even though I'm not going to see you in this capacity again. But email me or something if you seek out your school psychologist or if is there a plan in place if there's an imminent danger or a threat made from one student to the other. Okay. Situation number two. The situation, if you know what um Jersey Shore is, he was a guy that was had tax evasion. And it's my understanding that MTV is gonna be history in the end of this year. How sad. How sad that is. 44 years. All right. What if students make a threat and puts everyone at danger and they have a dangerous weapon? Oops. We're just going to go to this slide because we're kind of cutting into our time. The appropriate response is this is an emergency, alert the administration and enact your school emergency response plan. Again, every school has a different response plan. Public and charter schools have to have these publicly available, and there should be part of a training in the beginning and middle and the end of the year. Keep your distance and stay behind a barrier. Do not be aggressive or agitate. Realize you are not in control of the situation and avoid projecting authority. Time is your friend. It can possibly diffuse the situation until police or a school psychologist arrives. So, thank you. I want to make sure. Nina wrote, I work with students with disabilities, so this is not uncommon to happen in my school. So maybe we check with the students to take care of their needs in the moment. But regardless of how serious the threat is, we need to contact their counselor. And I'm going to give you a thumbs up because one of your, Kristen Morrison, also gave you an affirmation. So bravo. Everyone, anyone want to share out their house with what would be their ACE? Now, ACE is basically it's a PTSD test. You're given it at any age, and that asks you a series of questions. It kind of measures the trauma that you've experienced in your life. Usually, childhoods are supposed to be joyful, fun, peaceful, happy. That's not always the case with students that we serve, whether it's the Department of Education, charter school, or a privatized setting, whether it's religious or not. How would you approach a how would you approach this to that letter question with regard to reflecting on your reflecting on completing the questionnaire? And I haven't been able to read your commentary. How do you might think it might impact your view of the children in your class, their behavior, and your teaching methods?
I could go.
Thank you, Dawn
You're
Vega.
welcome. So I was answering the questions above. I've never experienced any one of those questions, but as an educator, we come from a background where we see multiple students, and they come from different households. We don't know what they face outside of the classroom unless it's told to us. So it's very important where the mandated reporter comes in, where you need to notice different situations that occur. If a child comes in the morning and they're sad or they're upset, find out why, speak to them. Also building that trust with your students, that relationship where they could trust you and lean on you and know that you're there for their support. This way they're able to tell you what's going on too. For little kids, it's a little bit harder because they're little, like kindergarten and first grade. But that's where that trust comes in. And if you notice they're upset, ask them why. If they come in with certain behaviors, find out what's going on at home. I would like to give an example. The past school
Please
year,
do.
last year, I would have a student come in and we noticed the difference of behavior where mom dropped him off versus dad. We didn't know that he came from a household where his parents were separated. So he
Mhm.
only saw dad like every 2 weeks, which was contributing to his behavior a little bit. So we wouldn't have known that unless mom came over and told us. So it's
Right.
important to build that trust and that culturally responsive classroom environment with your students and with parents as well.
Right. Right. And also sometimes the kids don't want to tell you with regard
Right.
to what's going on at home. Okay. And of
Exactly.
course,
That's where the
trust takes time.
yes.
So with too much too soon is too much too soon, and trust
Yes.
takes time. So I think where I want to, applaud you, Dawn, is that, you want to be that teacher. I'm giving you some affirmation. I want to give you, you want to be that teacher that the student can trust. And I know from my experience, growing up in Buffalo, not that Buffalo is a bad place to grow up, but I didn't like it. So it wasn't the snow. But the point I want to make is that just basically I didn't, there's a lot of things, incidents that happened, but I couldn't tell my teachers because I didn't trust them. And years later, when they friend me on Facebook, they said, "Oh, you should have told us that your card was keyed with a derogatory word." I'm like, "Well, would you have done anything? Like, what would you have done?" And I think, I mean, like the trust level wasn't, maybe it was the time or whatever, but the trust level wasn't ever there. So in these times, be that teacher where the students do trust you, and communicate and ask questions. Okay, so with
Definitely.
regard to the transparency of the scholar student that you're teaching, or the parents, sometimes there might be shame might be involved and they won't talk with you or share with you. But in that case, if they do, that gives you a little bit more context of what's going on at home. Okay, and divorce is traumatic. It
Yes.
does happen, and it is traumatizing, especially if there's a court case and it's not you
Agree.
know, a, a by default, like just the differences. It's just, it could be more complicated. So that being said, any other people want to share? One person,
Hello,
Kristen, wrote,
sorry, Liana.
"I agree with Dawn. It's finding out the why and making the connections to other situations." Okay. And
Let,
then
let
Ms.
me.
Knight, thank you.
Um, I was just gonna share, like, I work in Bed-Stuy. I was teaching second grade. I had a student who lost her mom. Her mom died during childbirth. It was pretty traumatic. And watching her from that point in the school year to pretty much towards the end, she completely changed as a person. And um I guess just me just knowing her very well, I took notice to that, and eventually, got her the help that she needed. If from I didn't want to go into the whole spiel, but basically from watching her and being able to talk to her and getting her to the right people, the school found out that once her mother died, half the income in the family was gone. There
Right,
wasn't enough food in the house. They didn't have enough for clothes or whatever the case may be, and they were Muslim, a black family, very proud dad. So of course he was telling the children, like, don't go into the school and say anything, don't talk to anyone, don't say anything. But it was noticeable because she was quiet, and she went from being quiet to fighting people to yelling to cursing to just being a completely different kid who she was from the beginning of the school.
mhm,
And just, just me just recognizing and just looking in and just noticing, like, hey, something's just not right. Let me
right,
try to talk to her. We were able to get her help. The school was able to provide them groceries for the rest of the year. And I bought clothes and sneakers for her and her siblings and went over and spent time with them. But you just have to pay attention because yes, you have 28 kids, but you have to just be cognizant and just vigilant and just paying attention because that's just sad. Like, okay, condolences is one thing, but you have to step out sometimes and do a little bit more than just say, oh, I'm sorry your mother died. She was only 7. So I don't
Mhm.
want to talk more because I'm going to start crying. But yeah.
Well, the thing is that people are
So,
also writing, Gabrielle wrote Teach Your Heart, Shed a Tear, and then Lisa wrote God Bless You. And I have to, bless you in terms of with an ungod way if there's people that don't believe in God here. So that and then Ms. Zwiebel wrote, wow, that story just made me emotional. It made me emotional as well, said Miss Tony Turner. And Kristen wrote, thank you for being the support of their team. The change you made is beyond important. And you know what? That student is always going to remember you for that. And a lot of times we think of when you think of traumatic things, you never think of the good things. You only think of the trauma or that part of the script. But with regard to your actions, I'm sure they will remember you, Miss Knight. And I'm pleased that I am not only your trainer today, but we've talked on Zoom before. Okay. You're my student. You have my heart. Miss Lisa, yes.
I just want to say really quickly that I can attest, and I what she was just saying, because growing up, and you'll see in my wording, I had family issues growing up. I had a dad who was an alcoholic and lost his job, and so my mother had to raise two children. There was very little bit of food in the house, and so we went through a lot of trauma. And the school helped me, the counselors, and because I was very quiet, I didn't want to do things, so I could relate to my students today because I understand what
Great.
that's like to be misunderstood, to be quiet, cry quietly, and I was always embarrassed to speak about it. Not
Mhm.
that my dad was a bad man. Thank God he wasn't an abusive man. He was a very quiet man, but nonetheless, my brother and I suffered the trauma from it, and it carries over till today. And
Right.
I put my love and heart into all that I do for my job because I'm a mother first. I'm a mother of four children. So I always put that tough love, but I love my students. And that's how I do my job every day. I couldn't do it any other way. So I just want to say, thank God for people like all of us that do want to help these kids. I'm very blessed. And I was blessed with teachers like that. And I try to give back for the help. So that's why I do what I do every day. I just wanted to make a point of that.
Well, thank you for making a point of that. And also, I want to give everyone love and celebration here. We are